Beneath the vast, majestic sky charged with primordial energy, 6 figures, led by Dong, glared furiously at Little Mink in the distance. Their faces were filled with rage. As renowned figures in the Eastern Mystery region, they had never been so blatantly disrespected. Your arrogance will be the death of you. Dong's face was dark with anger as he spoke. Trying to kill Lord Mink? You're giving yourselves way too much credit, Little Mink mocked, shaking his head with a smirk. Fine. Then let's see what you can do against the 6 of us today. Dong's expression grew colder as he let out a sinister laugh. Sensing Little Mink's formidable strength, he wasn't foolish enough to engage in a one-on-one fight. Since the arrogant Little Mink had boasted, Dong was more than happy to oblige. As his words fell, Dong cast a chilling glance at the 5 men beside him. They all nodded in silent agreement. In an instant, an overwhelming surge of primordial energy erupted from all 6 of them. 6 powerful streams of energy shot out, ferociously targeting Little Mink from a distance. Hovering in midair, Little Mink watched the incoming attack, his handsome face showing a hint of disdain. With a flick of his sleeve, purple-black flames spread out, forming a protective barrier of fire around him. Boom, boom. The streams of primordial energy struck the fiery barrier, but only made dull thuds before dissipating like snowflakes in a roaring fire. Is that all you've got? Little Mink's eyes twinkled with amusement as he looked at Dong and his 5 companions, who were now wearing expressions of disbelief. Despite their combined efforts, they couldn't even touch Little Mink. Shock rippled through them. With the 6 of them working together, even a master at the perfect completion of the life mystique stage would struggle to defend against such an attack. Yet this seemingly delicate youth had effortlessly neutralized it. Who exactly was he to possess such incredible power, such overwhelming strength? Chile muttered, his eyes growing serious. The strength Little Mink had shown surpassed even some of the top masters from the Yuan Sect at the life mystique stage. Standing nearby, Chunjin nodded slightly. He knew a bit about Little Mink's background, so while others were shocked by his display of power, Chunjin wasn't too surprised. If this is all you've got, you'd better get lost. In the sky above, Little Mink appeared thoroughly unimpressed by their teamwork. Purple-black flames danced in his slender palm as he cast a fleeting glance at the 6 men, speaking with an icy indifference. Don't push us too far. Dong and his comrades were enraged by Little Mink's casual dismissal. The entire alien demon city was watching them, and if word spread that the 6 of them couldn't even make him flinch, their reputations would be utterly ruined. Activate the Heavenly Origin Formation. Dong's voice, brimming with fury, echoed out. Without hesitation, the other 5 men began to move, stepping into an intricate pattern. Their powerful primordial energy gathered into beams of light, which quickly converged into a glowing formation, enveloping the 5 within its bounds. Boom, boom. Vast waves of primordial energy surged from the formation, radiating a fearsome power. Formed by 6 experts at the great completion of the life mystique stage, the array's strength was terrifying. Even onlookers in the city were visibly shaken by the immense power. As the beams of energy spiraled inward, they all converged toward Dong. With this infusion of power, Dong's aura surged to an astonishing level. While the other 5 noticeably weakened, their energy drained as they channeled their power to him. This is the Heavenly Origin Formation of the Yuan Sect. It allows others to temporarily transfer their energy to one person. Though the transfer causes harm to the others afterward, during that brief moment, the recipient's power becomes extraordinary, Chile explained, his eyes narrowing as he watched. The coordination required for 6 people to merge their energy is no small feat. These old foxes have some skill. Chunjin nodded, adding, but Lin Dong's friend isn't to be underestimated either. Even with their trump card, victory won't come easy. An overwhelming surge of energy rippled around Dong like the tides of a vast ocean. Feeling the immense power coursing through him, a sinister smile spread across his aged face. Fixing his gaze on Little Mink, Dong sneered and swiftly formed a seal with his hands, his cold voice resounding across the sky. Heaven-suppressing seal. Boom, A flood of primordial energy surged out, quickly forming a massive light seal hundreds of meters across. Ripples of power radiated from the seal, making the ground tremble. Swoosh! Without hesitation, the enormous light seal shot downwards like a blazing meteor, leaving a dazzling trail in its wake as it hurtled toward Little Mink. Now this is more like it, but still not enough. Little Mink chuckled as he watched the approaching seal. His slender hands slowly clenched, and purple-black flames erupted from him. Under countless astonished gazes, the flames behind him transformed into a pair of colossal, nearly 1,000-meter-long wings made of purple-black fire. With a gentle flap of the flame wings, the heavens and earth seemed to tremble, and even space itself twisted in response. Whoosh! The flaming wings swept forward, slicing through the sky like a blade. In that instant, it seemed as though the very fabric of space was torn apart. Under the stunned gazes of the onlookers, the fiery wings viciously struck the massive light seal. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out, accompanied by a violent shockwave that swept across the sky. Those too close to the battlefield were thrown back, left reeling in its wake. As the rippling waves spread out, everyone could see that cracks suddenly appeared on the massive light seal. A sharp cracking sound echoed, and in the next moment, the combined full-force strike of the 6 life Mystique stage masters exploded violently. Hemph! The light seal shattered, and a muffled groan escaped from the throats of the 6, including Dong. Their faces turned pale, and a flash of fear finally appeared in their eyes. The Yuan Sect people are always so pathetic. Little Mink gazed coldly at the expressions of Dong and his companions, their faces twisted in shock. A flicker of icy light flashed across his eyes. His massive wings of purple-black flame ripped through space once more, and in an instant, they appeared above the group, slamming down fiercely. Boom! Boom! The terrifying purple-black flames, carrying a violent force, crashed onto Dong and the others before they could dodge. A dull thud rang out, and the 6 of them were instantly sent flying in a disheveled state, blood spraying in their wake as their aura weakened rapidly. It was clear they had suffered severe injuries. A total defeat. The onlookers were stunned, and gasps filled the city. 6 masters at the great completion of the Life Mystique stage had been completely crushed by this handsome young man. Don't get too full of yourself. You've crossed the Yuan Sect. In the Eastern Mystery region, there will be no place for you to hide. We may not be your match, but our Yuan Sect is filled with powerful experts. You'll regret this sooner or later. Dong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, shouting fiercely. Annoying. Little Mink's gaze turned colder, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. His fiery wings, sharp like blades, once again ripped through space, filled with a lethal wind, slashing down toward Dong and the others. It was clear he intended to kill them all. Dong and the others sensed Little Mink's sudden killing intent, and terror appeared on their faces. They hadn't expected him to dare to go so far as to try and kill them. Retreat quickly. Dong's panicked voice rang out, but their faces turned ashen when they realized that the surrounding space had been sealed off. All they could do was watch helplessly as the fiery wings descended toward them with lightning speed. Lin Dong's pupils suddenly contracted as he witnessed this scene. He saw that the space in front of Dong and the others began to distort, and then a slender, pale hand emerged from the void. With a flick of a finger, an invisible force spread out, forcefully pushing back Little Mink's flaming wings. Who? The fiery wings were repelled, and a rare look of seriousness appeared on Little Mink's handsome face. His gaze locked onto the distorted space in front of Dong and his companions, and he shouted coldly. Hee. Since when did the Eastern Mystery region become the territory of the heavenly Demon Mink? You seem to have forgotten about the Yuan Sect? A faint chuckle came from the distorted space, and moments later, everyone saw a figure slowly stepping out. The moment he appeared, the world seemed to darken, and an invisible pressure spread out, making everyone feel an impulse to kneel. That is, on the pavilion, Ling Qingzhu, witnessing the figure emerging from the void, couldn't help but gasp, even with her calm demeanor. one of the three great sect leaders of the Yuan Sect, Ren Yuanzi. Beside her, a beautiful woman clenched her hands tightly, her voice heavy and filled with dread. Above the sky, the space twisted as a figure walked out and stood in midair. There was no visible sign of primordial energy around him, but the faint pressure emanating from his body was enough to make the very air feel solid. This figure wore a purple-gold robe, with a head of silver hair and eyes filled with the weight of ages. His skin, however, was as smooth as a baby's, creating an eerie contrast. The entire city fell into an eerie silence. No matter who they were, everyone had tense expressions as their gazes locked onto the figure in the sky with a mix of dread and awe. Ren Yuanzi? The oppressive silence lasted for a long while before hushed whispers spread, trembling with suppressed fear. No one had expected that a figure of Ren Yuanzi's caliber, one of the top-tier powerhouses of the Eastern Mystery region, would appear here. Ren Yuanzi, one of the three great sect leaders of the Yuan Sect, was not only a prominent figure in the Eastern Mystery region, but also a top-class expert in the world. Typically, such figures remained in seclusion, rarely showing themselves. Many in the alien demon region had heard of his reputation, but few had ever seen him in person. In the sky, Chile and the other three wore grim expressions. Their eyes met, reflecting their growing unease. Even they, powerful as they were, felt utterly powerless in the presence of someone like Ren Yuanzi. Meanwhile, the Dao sect disciples were also visibly unsettled. A figure like Ren Yuanzi was almost legendary to them, and seeing him in person was enough to fill them with fear. Amidst the growing tension, EngSubs' face turned pale. She clenched her jade-like hands tightly, anxiety welling up inside her. Ren Yuanzi's appearance, given his esteemed status, meant that this situation was unlikely to end peacefully. Sister. EngSubs glanced at Huan beside her. The latter's small face was filled with unconcealed worry, clearly sensing the looming danger. He saw right through little Mink's identity at a glance. Lin Dong's fists clenched tightly the moment Ren Yuanzi appeared. He took a deep breath, his gaze darkening. Beside him, little Yan's eyes were locked onto the distant figure. His fur stood on end, as if needles were pricking through his skin. From that figure, he sensed an indescribable danger. Ren Yuanzi. I didn't expect even an old demon like you to show up. Little Mink's handsome face lost its smile as he stared at the silver-haired figure dressed in purple-gold robes. His voice was low and steady. Master, we have failed and couldn't complete the mission. Upon seeing Ren Yuanzi, Dong and the others immediately knelt in midair, speaking with a hint of fear. Heh, encountering a heavenly Demon Mink. It's no surprise you weren't a match. Ren Yuanzi smiled lightly, waving his hand dismissively. His gaze rested on little Mink. You know the grudge between the heavenly Demon Mink clan and my Yuan Sect. So I'm curious, how do you still have the nerve to try and kill my Yuan Sect people here in the Eastern Mystery region? Kill them? Why not? What's there to fear? You only dare to hide here in the Eastern Mystery region. Step outside of it, and we'll see how much authority you still command. Little Mink sneered coldly. Hey, you're not wrong. Even I wouldn't venture easily into the demonic region. But this is the Eastern Mystery region. Ren Yuanzi chuckled, his eyes locking onto little Mink as a chilling glint flashed through them, causing the temperature around them to plummet. Since you've come to the Eastern Mystery region, don't think about leaving. Little Mink's eyes turned icy. With a slight movement of his body, waves of purple-black flames erupted from him, filling the sky. I can sense that your strength is not at its full potential yet. You haven't fully recovered, have you? In your current state, you're no match for me, Ren Yuanzi said with a smile. Surprisingly, little Mink didn't argue. He knew all too well that unless he returned to his peak condition, he indeed wasn't Ren Yuanzi's equal. You must be Lin Dong, the one who slaughtered over 500 of my Yuan Sect disciples, correct? Ren Yuanzi's gaze suddenly shifted towards Lin Dong in the distance, smiling as he spoke. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed, meeting Ren Yuanzi's sharp gaze, which seemed capable of piercing through his very soul. What a ruthless young man. Ren Yuanzi smiled, though his expression held no warmth. Your bloodlust is far too strong. Come back with me to the Yuan Sect. We'll help you suppress it, and then EngSubs can come to the Yuan Sect to take you back." Ren Yuanzi smiled. Lin Dong's gaze darkened. "Oh? As the leader of the Yuan Sect, are you now disregarding the rules set by the 8 super sects?" "Rules? Heh. Rules only exist to be changed when one's power is great enough." Ren Yuanzi paused, then shook his head with a soft smile. His gaze remained on Lin Dong, his tone gentle. "The rules you believe in hold no sway over me, so don't naively think you can stop me with them. Come with me to the Yuan Sect, and let EngSubs come to retrieve you himself." As his words fell, Ren Yuanzi waved his sleeve, and the space around Lin Dong began to twist violently. A terrifying and irresistible force seeped out, rendering Lin Dong completely immobile. Boom! Vast purple-black flames surged from the sky, slamming into the twisted space, shattering it. "You want to take him?" Lord Mink doesn't agree. Little Mink's handsome face was slightly twisted, and he glared coldly at Ren Yuanzi. "I told you, you're no match for me." Ren Yuanzi smiled faintly. He extended 5 fingers, and 5 beams of light shot out from his fingertips. The beams roared through the air, transforming into a prison that trapped Little Mink within. Strange, faint waves of energy, almost like the aura of reincarnation, emanated from the prison, an inescapable force. Boom, boom. The overwhelming purple-black flames crashed repeatedly against the light prison, but it remained unshaken, as immovable as the mysteries of reincarnation itself. Roar! Little Mink's face twisted in fury as he unleashed wave after wave of attacks. His eyes grew redder by the second. Then, a sharp screech erupted from within the purple-black flames. Boom! As the screech echoed, Little Mink's body expanded rapidly, purple-black light enveloping the sky. In a matter of seconds, a colossal beast, stretching thousands of feet, appeared, blotting out the sun. The beast was entirely purple-black, with wings just as enormous, spanning thousands of feet. Its giant purple-black eyes blazed with flames, radiating a terrifying aura. Boom! An overwhelming burst of purple-black radiance erupted from the beast's massive body, while faint golden light flickered across its enormous bat-like wings. So, this is the heavenly Demon Mink? In alien Demon City, countless gazes were fixed on the colossal creature in the sky, filled with shock. A race of dominators in the world of beasts, the heavenly Demon Minks were extremely rare in the Eastern Mystery region, but their fearsome reputation was legendary. Purple gold demon wings. Heh, looks like you're not just an ordinary heavenly Demon Mink. Very well then. Many of my Yuan Sect strong have perished at the hands of your heavenly Demon Mink clan. Today, you can repay a bit of that debt, Ren Yuanzi said softly, a hint of surprise flickering in his otherwise calm, icy eyes as he looked at the massive wings of the heavenly Demon Mink. After transforming into his celestial Demon Mink form, Little Mink's strength surged to an overwhelming level. His massive claw struck the pillar-like prison with immense force, and purple-black flames erupted, shattering the confinement completely. Boom! With a resounding crash, the prison shattered. The massive celestial Demon Mink unfurled its gigantic wings, purple-black flames raging violently across its body. From a distance, he resembled a demonic deity descending upon the world. Rumble! As Little Mink revealed his true form, he threw back his head and let out a thunderous roar. Murderous intent surged within his enormous purple-black eyes. His wings flapped furiously, gathering the purple-black flames, which then transformed into a colossal firestorm that stretched thousands of meters. Rumble! The temperature in the surrounding heavens and earth rose crazily at that moment. Everyone stared in shock at the scene unfolding before them. Such a confrontation, even in the Eastern Mystery region, was a rare spectacle. It's been many years since I fought a celestial Demon Mink. Today, I'll entertain you for a bit. Ren Yuanzi gazed at the flame storm that seemed to engulf the heavens and earth. A gentle smile appeared on his baby-like fair face. He slowly spread his hands, and suddenly, the primordial energy in the surroundings began to riot violently. A true earth-shattering battle was about to erupt. The purple-black firestorm, like a raging vortex connecting the sky and the earth, spun madly, distorting the space around it. The temperature in the heavens and earth became unbearably scorching. If such a storm were to land in the alien demon city, no one would doubt that the entire city would be obliterated in an instant. Bang! Little Mink's enormous wings, spanning 1,000 meters, flapped abruptly. A fierce gust of wind swept through the area, propelling the destructive flame storm toward the distant purple-gold figure in the sky. Whoosh! As the storm swept forward, the surrounding space tore open with black cracks, and an ominous wave of energy spread out, sending chills down everyone's spine. However, facing the terrifying flame storm that struck fear into countless hearts, Ren Yuanzi merely chuckled softly. He shook his head and then lightly clenched his palm. Instantly, the primordial energy in the heavens and earth converged at an astonishing speed, forming a massive crystal finger, hundreds of meters long, in his hand. The giant finger radiated a fearsome energy wave. This energy was not just pure primordial energy, but contained a strong life force. Beneath that life force, however, surged a deadly aura with devastating killing power. These two vastly different energies fused perfectly at this moment, and in their blending, a faint trace of a reincarnation-like aura emanated. Though the reincarnation aura was incredibly faint, it conveyed an overwhelming sense of dominion over all things in the world. Life and death merged, touching upon reincarnation. This Ren Yuanzi has transcended life and death and stepped into the revolution stage. Chi Lei and the other three stared at the massive crystal finger in Ren Yuanzi's hand, their expressions tinged with shock and deep fear in their eyes. Lin Dong's hand clenched tightly at this moment. A heavy sense of unease welled up within him. Things had progressed to a point beyond his control or expectations. Ren Yuanzi's strength was far too powerful for him to contend with at his current level. Moreover, even though Little Mink had utilized his true celestial demon mink form, his power had yet to be fully restored. Boom! With a wave of Ren Yuanzi's sleeve, the crystal finger shot out like a towering mountain, slamming directly into the sweeping purple-black firestorm amidst countless astonished gazes. Bang! 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 The moment they collided, the entire heavens and earth seemed to tremble violently. Alien Demon City shook crazily, as if an earthquake had struck. Although the battleground in the sky was a considerable distance from the ground, some towering buildings were instantly shattered into dust by the shockwaves transmitted through space. Witnessing this scene, many people felt a chill run down their spines and hastily retreated from the skies. High above, purple-black flames surged wildly. The enormous flame storm, under the pressure of the crystal finger, gradually collapsed and disintegrated into a rain of fiery petals that fell across the sky. I told you, you're no match for me. If you were in your peak condition, you might be able to fight me, but certainly not now. Having neutralized Little Mink's ferocious assault with a single strike, Ren Yuanzi smiled faintly, placing his hands behind his back. Compared to Little Mink's massive form, his figure seemed as tiny as an ant. Yet, the aura emanating from his body made him appear as a colossal giant, his presence firmly suppressing Little Mink. You've merely entered the revolution stage. Do you truly believe you are a reincarnation powerhouse? The overwhelming purple-black flames swirled around Little Mink as his voice, like thunder, resounded throughout the heavens and earth. Boom! Boom! As Little Mink's voice faded, the purple-black flames in the sky suddenly condensed into massive flaming meteors that rained down upon Ren Yuanzi in a devastating barrage. Ren Yuanzi looked up, gazing calmly at the incoming flaming meteors streaking across the sky. With a flick of his sleeve, the space before him was torn apart, revealing a massive dark spatial rift that spanned thousands of meters. Whoosh! Whoosh! The countless flaming meteors crashed into the spatial rift, followed by a series of deafening explosions from within. Fiery waves, like demonic roars, spread out in all directions. Witnessing such a clash high above, countless spectators were left dumbfounded. Ren Yuanzi's ability to tear through space with a mere gesture left many shivering. Ren Yuanzi stood in midair, his feet seemingly stepping on the void. With a casual wave of his palm, a vast force formed from the fusion of life and death energy swept across the sky, morphing into an enormous barrier of light that enveloped Little Mink's colossal form entirely. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of overwhelming purple-black energy crashed against the black and white energy barrier, causing deafening explosions. Yet, despite the force of the attacks, they couldn't penetrate the barrier. Clearly, in this exchange, Ren Yuanzi had taken a decisive upper hand. "You'd best stay quiet in there for a while." Ren Yuanzi chuckled lightly before turning, his warm gaze falling on Lin Dong in the distance. It seems that Yuan Sect produces a few young prodigies every so often. Back then, Zhou Tong was like this, and now there's you. But you, compared to Zhou Tong, are even more ruthless. To think you slaughtered all of Yuan Sect's elite disciples this generation. I can't decide if you're exceedingly brave or just plain foolish. Lin Dong's gaze darkened as he glanced at Little Mink, who was trapped within the black and white barrier, his fists clenching tightly. "Come back with me to the Yuan Sect. Don't worry, I won't take your life. At most, I'll cripple your cultivation. After that, EngSubs can come and retrieve you." Ren Yuanzi smiled. "Ren Yuanzi, you've gone too far." Chen Zhen finally couldn't contain his anger and shouted, "Too far?" Ren Yuanzi chuckled indifferently, dismissing Chen Zhen's outburst. Without another word, he reached out with his hand, and the space around Lin Dong began to warp and distort. "You!" Chen Zhen and the others' expressions changed drastically. Gritting their teeth, the four of them attacked together, their powerful primordial energy surging toward Ren Yuanzi. But Ren Yuanzi didn't even spare their combined assault a glance. With a casual flick of his finger, the space in front of him split open, swallowing their attack whole. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, an indescribable gust of force swept toward the four of them. Thud. The defensive barriers around Chen Zhen and the others shattered almost instantly under that force. Each of them spat out blood, their bodies sent flying backward in utter defeat. These four warriors, each having achieved the great completion of the life mystique stage, were as helpless as infants before Ren Yuanzi. Roar! Beside Lin Dong, Little Yin let out a furious roar as black light erupted from his body. In an instant, he transformed into a massive black tiger, hundreds of feet tall. Violent, black energy surged from his maw, shooting directly at Ren Yuanzi. "Oh, a member of the celestial demon tiger clan?" Ren Yuanzi looked on in mild surprise at the massive black tiger before casually flicking his finger. A beam of light shot from his fingertip, striking Little Yin head-on. The tiger let out a pained roar that reverberated through the sky. "Today, no one will save you," Ren Yuanzi said, smiling as he gazed at Lin Dong, now trapped within the warped space. His hand clenched once again, and the distorted space around Lin Dong began to collapse rapidly, the overwhelming force threatening to crush him into paste. "You scum!" Lin Dong's bloodshot eyes glared at the fallen Chen Zhen, Little Yin, and the others. His body trembled violently, his face twisted with rage and pain. Bang! 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 Lin Dong's fist struck wildly against the twisting space surrounding him, primordial energy surging chaotically as he tried to break free. Futile struggle. Ren Yuanzi watched the scene unfold with a sympathetic shake of his head, his smile unchanging. Bang! Bang! Lin Dong's fists hammered relentlessly against the space. His once formidable body began to bleed under the crushing pressure, blood seeping from every pore. Yet Lin Dong seemed oblivious to the pain, his eyes reddening as he continued to strike, blow after blow. The intense pain caused Lin Dong's ears to ring, blood dripped from his forehead into his eyes, staining his world red. Buzz! Buzz! Just as Lin Dong's vision became consumed by crimson, he faintly heard a strange humming sound emanating from deep within his body. In the depths of his being, a dim and ancient stone talisman began to tremble, releasing a thread of peculiar energy that quietly seeped out. Boom! Lin Dong struck again, his fist pounding against the twisted, nearly solidified space. A flash of light flickered across his fist. Crack! A sharp sound suddenly rang out through the sky. Everyone's pupils contracted as they stared in shock at the twisted space. Cracks were spreading rapidly from Lin Dong's fist. Ren Yuanzi's confinement was being shattered. Dong and the others watched in utter disbelief, as if they were seeing a ghost. Even Ren Yuanzi, who had worn a calm and warm expression the entire time, now had a dark glint in his eyes. Cracks continued to spread with startling speed across the warped space, which now resembled shattered glass. Everyone stood in stunned silence, staring at the unfolding spectacle. Even Ren Yuanzi, known for his unflappable demeanor, couldn't keep his usual composure. Who was Ren Yuanzi? One of the Eastern Mystery region's top-tier powerhouses, whose name was renowned even across the world. To him, even warriors like Chanjun, at the great completion of the life mystique stage, were nothing more than ants. The space he had solidified was something even a warrior at the perfect completion of the life mystique stage couldn't shake, let alone Lin Dong, whose strength was merely at the 8th nirvana stage. Even if Lin Dong had blown himself up, he shouldn't have been able to make the slightest dent in that twisted space. And yet, what they were witnessing now defied all logic. The entire city had fallen into deathly silence, as everyone's wide eyes were fixated on the slender figure in the sky. The fragmented and cracked space finally exploded completely. Lin Dong's eyes were bloodshot, and blood dripped continuously from his fists. His gaze was filled with overwhelming ferocity as he stared at Ren Yuanzi in the distance. Interesting. It seems there's something inside you. Ren Yuanzi, being no ordinary figure, quickly recovered, his sharp gaze slowly scanning Lin Dong's body as if trying to pierce through his very soul. Lin Dong, covered in blood, suddenly formed a complex hand seal. In the next moment, he forcefully pressed his hand onto the ground. Boom! With the press of his palm, a massive handprint appeared on the ground, followed by a strange ripple that spread rapidly. Everyone then witnessed the ground begin to wither at an alarming speed. Thud! Thud! The earth trembled as the withered zone expanded wildly, and in just a few breaths, the entire city was enveloped. However, Lin Dong let out a low growl as he witnessed this scene, blood seeping from beneath his skin. This wasn't nearly enough. Droplets of blood dripped from his body, seeping into the ground. Then, to everyone's shock, the desolate area began to expand again. 50 miles, 70 miles, 100 miles. Within a 100-mile radius, all life seemed to be drained away. Torrents of energy, as vast as floodwaters, surged up from beneath the ground. Finally, a colossal beam of energy, hundreds of feet tall, burst out beneath Lin Dong and shot towards the heavens, enveloping him completely. The Great Wilderness Scripture? Ren Yuanzi's face twitched as he watched the scene unfold. His eyes narrowed at the figure within the energy beam. A faint trace of coldness flickered in his eyes, for this figure reminded him of the madman who, a century ago, single-handedly stormed the Yuan Sect, Zhou Tong of Dao Sect. That battle had severely tarnished the Yuan Sect's reputation, and Zhou Tong's power was so overwhelming that even Ren Yuanzi was astonished. Not a single elder in the Yuan Sect could match him. Such a monstrous talent had cast all the Yuan Sect's geniuses into the shadows. Even Ren Yuanzi couldn't suppress the killing intent that arose when thinking of him. And now, from this young disciple of Dao Sect, he sensed the same aura once again. So similar, Ren Yuanzi muttered to himself, slowly lowering his hands from behind his back. A trace of killing intent surged in his ancient, calm eyes. He had no desire to see a repeat of that incident. Boom! Within the massive energy beam, the figure suddenly struck out with a punch. The crowd watched as the beam of energy refracted, carrying immense force as it shot toward Ren Yuanzi like a bolt of lightning. To have mastered the Great Wilderness Scripture to this extent at your age is indeed impressive, but unfortunately, the gap between us is beyond your imagination. Ren Yuanzi smiled faintly at the oncoming attack. His slender hand reached out, and in the next instant, the towering beam of energy, formed from the life force of 100 miles, suddenly froze, as if an invisible hand had stopped it in its tracks. Shatter! Ren Yuanzi's gentle voice echoed. The towering beam of energy exploded instantly, scattering radiant light across the sky like a blazing sun. Thud. As the beam shattered, Lin Dong's body was sent flying, blood spurting from his mouth, his figure battered and defeated. Roar. In the distance, the giant tiger form of Little Yin, with bloodshot eyes, charged toward Ren Yuanzi once again. But before he could even approach within 100 feet, an overpowering gust of wind sent him flying, blood raining down like a storm. You bastard! Seeing this, Lin Dong's already blood-red eyes deepened in color. Azure light surged from his body as the azure dragon wings unfurled. His speed increased dramatically as he appeared above Ren Yuanzi, with azure light coiling around his arm like a dragon. He unleashed a fierce punch. Freeze. Ren Yuanzi smiled calmly. With a casual gesture, he grabbed at the air, and Lin Dong's powerful azure dragon punch froze in place, just a few feet from Ren Yuanzi. Boom. Boom. Lin Dong's bloodshot eyes flashed with determination. A sudden burst of light erupted from his fist, breaking through the invisible barrier. His punch continued forward, aiming straight for Ren Yuanzi's head. Ren Yuanzi's expression finally darkened. He flicked his fingers, striking Lin Dong's fist. Bang! The azure dragon shattered upon impact. A terrifying force surged through Lin Dong's arm, the sound of cracking bones echoing loudly. His body was once again sent flying, this time in even worse condition. Boom! 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 In the sky, Little Mink, trapped in the boundary between life and death, let out a furious roar as he watched Lin Dong and Little Yin being tossed around like playthings. His voice was filled with venomous rage and hatred. Ren Yuanzi, you old dog. I swear, my clan and your Yuan Sect will never coexist under the same sky. Lin Dong and his brothers had been completely defeated, for the first time in years, left in such a pitiful state. Ren Yuanzi frowned slightly, casting a cold glance at Little Mink. There's always been a deep-seated grudge between my Yuan Sect and your heavenly Demon Mink clan, hasn't there? As his words trailed off, his gaze shifted back to Lin Dong. He spoke softly, my interest in you grows. It seems there's indeed something inside you. He reached out, and a powerful suction force surged from his palm, aiming to pull Lin Dong into his grasp. From afar, Qing Tan watched the three figures in the sky, battling fiercely and drenched in blood. Her silver teeth bit down on her lip, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. Just as she was about to rush out, Chen Gue grabbed her tightly. Don't go. If you do, you'll only make things harder for brother Lin Dong, Chen Gue said in a low voice. Ren Yuanzi was not Yuan Tong. He was far beyond anything they could handle. In the Eastern Mystery region, Ren Yuanzi stood at the pinnacle, while they, despite their talent, were still just disciples. Qing Tan's body stiffened, then trembled slightly. Her delicate hands clenched tightly, her nails digging into her palms until blood dripped from her fingers. She had thought that she could help Lin Dong now, but these past few days had shown her just how powerless she still was. Chen Gue sighed softly as he watched. Qing Tan continued to tremble for a while before raising her tear-streaked face, her gaze quietly fixed on Ren Yuanzi in the distance. The eerie calm in her eyes made Chen Gue uneasy. If something happens to brother Lin Dong, I'll do as master says and go to the Dark Tribunal, she whispered, wiping the tears from her face. Her sudden calm made Chen Gue even more unsettled. His pupils contracted, and a complex mix of emotions surged in his heart as he muttered bitterly, "Is it worth it?" He knew exactly what the Dark Tribunal was. If Qing Tan entered that place, she would likely become the ruler of the Dark Hall, but at the same time, she would no longer be the lively junior sister they knew. She would become the queen who controlled the Dark Hall. He knew their master had always wanted Qing Tan to inherit his legacy, but she had always refused. Chen Gue clearly remembered the time their master had brought up the topic, and Qing Tan's serious response had left their usually calm master fuming with rage. Brother Lin Dong wouldn't want me to become like that. Is it worth it? Chen Gue muttered again, his voice filled with bitterness. Boom. A powerful force pulled Lin Dong's body closer and closer to Ren Yuanzi. No matter how fiercely the azure light shimmered around him, he couldn't resist the overwhelming suction. The The gap between their strength was simply too vast. Letting Zhou Tong grow unchecked back then nearly cost my Yuan Sect a huge price. I won't make that mistake again, Ren Yuanzi said with a faint smile as Lin Dong was drawn closer. At his fingertip, a beam of energy fused from the essence of life and death began to flicker. Bang! But just as Ren Yuanzi was about to strike, everyone suddenly sensed a chilling cold spreading throughout the heavens and earth, the kind of cold that could freeze souls. What is this? Ren Yuanzi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he slowly turned his head. In the distance, among the Dao sect disciples, a slender young girl began to rise into the air. At that moment, her long black hair was rapidly turning into an icy blue, leaving those around her in shock. The bone-chilling cold, which even made Ren Yuanzi uneasy, was emanating from her. The girl hovered in the air, her icy blue hair cascading like a waterfall. Her once beautiful eyes were now completely enveloped in the same icy blue hue. At the center of her forehead, a circular sigil gleamed with a radiant light, its arcs extending like an endless cycle, unyielding and eternal.